Hi, my name is Tommy Stewart. I'm excited to share with you a tour that I'll be taking this fall around the Chief Revenue Officer 3.0. It's a topic that's come up over the last 14 months. It's kind of escalated over the work that I've been doing and the peers I've been talking to. And I'm excited to share just a highlight of kind of what's been going on. You know, every revenue organization I walk into tells me the same story. New tools, new dashboards, new AI features bolted on top of old legacy systems. And every CRO tells me the same thing after the meeting ends and once the slides are all down. Tommy, why does this still feel harder than it should? That's a great question. That's a really, really great question. But that's not a technology problem. That's a leadership model that expired and no one sent you the memo. For over 20 years, the Chief Revenue Officer has been built on one idea, and that's control. Hire good sellers, give them territory, run the funnel, review the pipeline monthly, adjust the plan quarterly. That model worked when the information moved slower than the humans could manage it. And that's an old model. It doesn't work anymore. The average revenue organization runs 14 to 18 disconnected tools. Forecast accuracy is still at a 54% accuracy rate. That's a flip of a coin. Not because your people got worse, but because the operating model was built for a world that no longer exists, regardless of how many acquisitions you make. The tool was built on a 30-year-old model. Here's the part most keynotes skip. Organizations aren't failing to adopt AI. They're adopting it fast. Chatbots, predictive scoring, forecasting co-pilots, agentic workflows, and it's making things worse. Yes, faster is not always better. Bolting on top of fragmented stacks is not always great. It's not a strategy, but it's often an opportunity destined to fail. Because you cannot orchestrate intelligence through a management model designed for control. You can automate a broken process, but you just get the wrong outcomes faster. I've watched this pattern for over 2 decades inside of Salesforce, SAP, Microsoft, and Verizon, and even as the founding Chief Revenue Officer who took an AI-native go-to-market platform from stealth to Series A. The tools were never the constraint. The org chart was, how I operated, the control mechanisms I had, my peers and what their responsibilities were. Here's the fact nobody in the boardroom is yet naming. Between late 2025 and early 2026, 4 of the largest enterprise platforms, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Anthropic, Oracle, simultaneously moved away from a flat licensing-based model towards an outcome-based, agentic-driven billing. What does that mean? Think about it. That means the CFO who built the budget on headcount ratios 6 months ago is now facing invoices tied to how hard the agents work. And multi-agent systems don't consume costs linearly. They consume it exponentially. This is going to be a problem. This is the same inflection point that the cloud had computing in 2015. When nobody could reconcile an AWS bill, the infrastructure outran the governance. Revenue leadership is facing its own version of the gap right now, and the CRO, the old role, who doesn't see it coming, will be explaining it to the board after it's already expensive. I've seen too many jobs get impacted. The average role of the CRO is 18 months. So what replaces this operating model? I call it orchestration, not a buzzword, but a different discipline entirely that you have to own, that you have to learn if you understand. AI now owns continuous monitoring, signal detection, action sequencing, documentation. That's execution, and machines do it better than we do. What AI can't own, focus and constraint and restraint, judgment under pressure, decision authority, trust and timing. That's command. That remains entirely human and with us. I built a 6-stage operating system called Maker for exactly this transition, mapping the ecosystem, aligning teams around shared context, turning AI noise into coordination, seeing the customer in full context, acting on real-time signal, and reflecting to compound the learning. The organizations getting this right aren't buying another dashboard. They're redesigning who's accountable for what and where intelligence is allowed to flow. Here's the line that matters most. Pressure doesn't expose people, it exposes systems. The CROs I trust most aren't the ones with the best quarter. They're the ones whose decision standards hold before the deal compresses, not after it. This is an important transition. This is an important time. And the market is pushing so fast that many of you don't have a chance to respond and reflect. But there are going to be winners and losers. Organizations who win, they establish decision standards before urgency even arrives. They treat RevOps as an orchestration engine, not a CRM babysitter. We've all had enough of those. They govern AI consumption at the workflow level before the invoice. They elevate the CRO role to sit alongside the CTO and the CFO with real authority, not paper authority, in the organizations that are going to lose. They bolt on AI agents onto legacy platforms and call it transformation. I talked to way too many organizations who are doing this. They escalate instead of aligning when timelines compress. They discover their agent build the same week they discover the tool sprawl, and they wait for an 18-month roadmap in a market that moves every 90 days. I watched a client, a good friend with a 3-year head start, lose their entire competitive advantage in just 6 months because a competitor closes the gap through orchestration, not headcount. That's not the technology story. That's the leadership story. A story with the technology, that's a reality. That's not a prediction. I watched it happen inside of 3 industries over the 2 decades from inside of doing these deals. The question isn't whether orchestration wins. It's whether you built it before your competitor did. The things have changed, and your skill set and what you do as CROs is going to drastically change how the outcomes look in your organization. I don't come to this stage to inspire you. I come to tell you that the model you built your career on has an expiration date, and it's already passed. It is about doing more with AI. It's about deciding deliberately what will you do and what you will hand over to a machine. Is it judgment, timing, trust, command, and building a system that lets everything else run without you in the room? The CRO who waits for the certainty will get run over by the CRO who built operating system for uncertainty. Thank you. I look forward to sharing the full story and the model and working through a couple of exercises so that you can enjoy this time. Thank you so much. Take care.